Well, welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, and my dear friend Guy Harvey is here. And Guy, you know, many years ago you took special interest in sharks. So why don't you talk about how we got to where we are today? Give me a little rundown.
That's true, Rick. We've been working with Nova Southeastern University and working on tiger sharks primarily in the Atlantic and the Caribbean. And more recently, we switched to mako sharks because they're a heavily fished shark, both by recreational and commercial fishermen.
So I guess the short fin mako is the shark that you decided to study and the one that's been going on for the last 6 years. So tell me how you decided where to start.
Well, that's true. And of course, you know, everybody kills mako sharks when they catch them because they're good to eat. And that's a problem. And so about 500,000 makos are killed every year in the Atlantic Ocean, which is a lot of animals.
That is a lot of animals.
So it causes a problem. And nothing was really known about their life history. So we started in 2 locations, one in the US, in the Middle Atlantic area, but most interestingly, down in Mexico, a warm water location where you wouldn't expect to find a number of mako sharks that we do.
So in Mexico, we went down there this past April and, you know, just go through it. I mean, it was just so much fun.
It's a March-April event, really, and we fished with Anthony Mandillo, Keen, and we built this sled onto which we could put the caught makos and operate on them, deploy the tags that we wanted to put on them in a safe manner. We used to bring them in the boat, but we found that wasn't the best thing for us or the shark to do. Also, with the cage that you saw deployed there, we can actually dive safely with these animals before we hook them.
Right.
So we're making best use of the animal, catching it and then filming it as well. And the combination really works if you're making the documentaries like we do. Here we're deploying a spot tag, a $2,000 tag on a mako shark's dorsal fin. Every time they come to the surface, that tag communicates with the satellite and says, "Here I am." Well, makos come to the surface a great deal more than any other shark that we've studied. And so you can develop these fantastic tracks. Here's Jack Hanna, the guy from SeaWorld. SeaWorld, one of our biggest sponsors. They keep us sponsored with mako shark tags, and because they got the mako roller coaster as well at SeaWorld Orlando. Here's got Nolan, this young artist from Alabama, donated money to the foundation, so we called the shark after him. Very cool. The shark is doing well, not far off the west coast here. And coming up is another shark, Mackenzie, caught by a 13-year-old girl from the Carolinas.
Wow.
And that shark has gone up through the Straits of Florida, is hanging out now off Georgia, Florida, the Florida-Georgia line. Sounds like a song.
Exactly.
And here's, you know, a collective number of tracks all generated from the Yucatan. And you can see how much time those animals are spending in the Gulf of Mexico. We really didn't know what home bodies they would be.
Now I see that it seems like there's a central location there in the Gulf. What have you learned about that, Guy?
Well, about 100 miles north of the Yucatan Peninsula, there's an area we call essential habitat. This is where not only mako sharks, but we found white marlin and sailfish spend a lot of time there, as well as whale sharks. So it's probably providing very good feeding opportunities for all these animals. You did see a couple other tracks leaving the Gulf, some going up the mid-Atlantic area, a couple going all the way up to Canada. Well, they're on walkabout. And one shark, Tough Guy, did about 10,000 miles in less than a year.
Wow.
So they can get around when they want to. But in contrast, the other sharks we tagged in the Middle Atlantic area have gone on really long walkabouts. They've gone across the Atlantic, they've gone down from Newfoundland down to Brazil on one straight track and back.
Wow.
But probably the most surprising thing is how many sharks get killed while they're out there. We got about a 25% mortality rate right now.
Wow. All right. So thank you for enlightening us on that. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people here in the studio as well as watching that are interested in more about this. So how can they find out? But more importantly, all of this is funded through the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation.
It takes cash to care, and I tell everybody that. And so you can participate. You know that we have the Guy Harvey license plates, a specialty license plate. You can buy one of those fantastic, beautifully colored dolphin plates and support the foundation that way. Or you can buy any Guy Harvey merchandise. And I've been doing this a long time, so thank you, all of you, for your past support. But going ahead, you can buy Guy Harvey merchandise and you're making a direct contribution to the foundation. But more importantly, we all need to be responsible fisher people.
Right.
And treat the resource with respect. And you can really help by educating yourself, by joining a local organization or a regional conservation organization like the CCA is a perfect example, and just becoming more responsible, taking action and doing the right thing while you're on the water.
You know what? Every time you amaze me. Thank you so much.
A pleasure to be here.
All right, speaking of
Catch 'em up, guys.
amazing,